Okay, let's just get right into it. Have you ever wondered what really separates people who stay broke from those who actually build real, lasting wealth? Well, it turns out the gap is a lot smaller than you might think. It often comes down to a single, specific number, a financial threshold that once you cross it, changes literally everything.
And that number? It's $20,000. Now that might sound random, but this is the critical line in the sand that most people, no matter how much they earn, just never seem to cross. It's like the first great wall on the path to financial independence.
So why 20 grand? What's so special about this particular amount? Well, it's not magic. It's about where psychology and simple, powerful math finally start working for you instead of against you. First, let's be honest about why starting this journey feels, well, impossible. For most of us, it's like staring up at a giant mountain with no climbing gear. You're saving, you're trying to do all the right things, but your progress is so painfully slow it feels like a joke. This is what we're calling the Great Financial Wall.
And this quote it nails it, doesn't it? The early stages are brutal. You're skipping the fancy coffee, you're packing your lunch, and for what? A few extra bucks in your account? It's right here, in this moment of frustration, that almost everyone throws in the towel, convinced it's just not worth it.
And this is the mental trap that keeps people stuck. Our brains tend to think in straight lines. We think, okay, if it took me a whole year just to save $5,000, it's going to take me 20 years to get to $100,000. What's the point? But wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows exponentially. You're at the very beginning of the curve, where it looks almost totally flat. But if you quit now, you never ever get to see that incredible upward swing that's just around the corner.
But what happens if you don't quit? What happens if you push through that painfully flat part of the curve? You hit the tipping point. Let's break down exactly why crossing that $20,000 line starts to completely change the game, both inside your head and in your bank account.
So two massive things happen. First, the psychological win. You're no longer someone who wishes they could save money. You are someone who does. You have proof. Your entire identity starts to shift. And second, the math starts to get fun. Your money begins to make its own money in amounts you can actually see and feel. For example, let's say you get a 10% return on that $20,000. That's $2,000. Okay, it's not a new car, but it's real. It's visible. That is $2,000 that you did absolutely nothing to earn. It just showed up. This is your first real taste of that compounding magic.
And as that little snowball starts rolling downhill, it gets so much more powerful. That same 10% return, once you hit $100,000, is now earning you $10,000 a year. All of a sudden, your money is generating a serious side income all by itself. See? That's the exponential curve taking off.
Now this table shows something absolutely fascinating. Let's call it the crossover point. Imagine you're disciplined enough to save $4,800 a year. When you have $20,000 saved up, your hard work, your savings, is still doing most of the heavy lifting. But look what happens when you hit $50,000. Your 10% return is now $5 grand. That's more than you're saving. For the first time, your money is officially working harder than you are. This is the secret that most people give up on before they ever get to experience it. But look, getting to that amazing crossover point isn't just about spreadsheets and math. It's about winning the battle against the enemies inside your own mind. There are 3 inner saboteurs that will almost guarantee you quit long before you see any real success.
And here they are, the 3 horsemen of financial apocalypse: impatience, envy, and self-pity. These aren't just minor personality flaws, they are modes of thinking that will absolutely torpedo your financial future if you let them.
Let's talk about impatience. This is the Mozart trap. You have one of the most brilliant musical geniuses in human history, a guy who earned a ton of money for his time, yet he died completely broke. Why? Because he couldn't wait. He had to have everything now. He always spent more than he made. And hey, if Mozart couldn't out-earn his bad habits, what chance do the rest of us have?
The second saboteur, envy, is even more toxic than simple greed. You could be on a great path, doing everything right, but then you look over your shoulder. You see your neighbor get a new car or a friend getting rich on some crazy stock. All of a sudden, your slow, steady, smart plan feels lame, and you start making stupid, risky moves to keep up. This quote just perfectly captures why envy is so uniquely destructive. I mean, think about it. Most other sins at least offer some kind of short-term kick, right? Envy is the only one where you just get to sit there and feel miserable about someone else's good fortune. It has literally zero upside. It's all pain and bad decisions.
Okay, so we know the obstacles, we know the enemies. How do we beat them? Well, this next part is all about the solutions. And the big idea here is that you don't have to be a genius to get rich. You just have to consistently avoid being a fool. And it turns out, that's way more effective. One of the most powerful mental tools you can use is something called inversion. Instead of asking, how can I succeed, you flip the question on its head. You ask, what would absolutely guarantee that I stay poor forever? The idea is to clearly identify all the traps so you can make sure you never, ever go near them. And when you flip it like that, the answers are just so obvious, aren't they? If you want to guarantee failure, just do these things. So the path to success becomes incredibly simple. Just don't do this stuff. Your goal isn't to be brilliant once in a while. It's to be consistently not stupid.
Another crucial tool is knowing your circle of competence. You have to be brutally honest with yourself about what you understand and where you have an actual edge. You only play games you know you can win. So many people get into trouble because they invest in things they don't get or take jobs they aren't suited for because they're pretending their circle is way bigger than it is. Know your limits.
And how do you expand that circle over time? You become a learning machine. This is non-negotiable. You have a moral duty to yourself to learn constantly. The income you have today does not have to be your income tomorrow, but it will be if you stop growing. This idea of continuous learning, it's the engine that powers everything else we've talked about. So that brings us to the big question. Why are we even doing this? Why go through all the pain of saving, of fighting those inner saboteurs? The prize at the end of this journey, it's not what most people think it is.
See, the world sells you this vision of wealth that's all about stuff. Cars, bigger houses, fancy watches. But that's just a life of consumption. True wealth, the thing you're really fighting for, is freedom. It's the ability to wake up in the morning and say no to a job you hate. It's the power to walk away from a bad situation. It's control over your own time. That is the ultimate prize.
So there you have it. The path is actually pretty clear. It starts by just surviving that painfully slow beginning. Then you push through and cross that $20,000 threshold, where the magic of math finally kicks in. Along the way, you learn to spot and defeat your own worst impulses, and you use these simple mental tools to keep you on the path. And you never forget what you're really fighting for. It's not just money, it's freedom. The map is right here in your hands. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it?